Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Allotment Dram. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk about different whiskies in the surroundings of our North London allotment. And you join me here on my first trip up here for, well, almost 6 weeks actually, due to one thing or another thing. Been away, and then a few like family and life things to deal with. So yeah, sadly not been able to get up here for a good well, as I say, almost 6 weeks. But what it does mean is that I've now built up quite a collection of things that have been either purchased by us or sent to us sort of in that time. And the first one is actually something that arrived just before I went away. So that's a little thing from Ardbeg, a little sample from Ardbeg on the island of Islay, and it is the Fermutation, Ardbeg Fermutation, which is a limited edition for the Ardbeg Committee. So they release such things once, possibly even twice a year, and then they tend to, 9 times out of 10 become something a bit more sort of not part of the core range, but a limited edition, sort of a bit more widely available sort of later in the year. So I'm sure there'll be similar happening with this. So if you haven't managed to get a bottle now, then there might be a chance to get one a little bit later. But what can I tell you? Fermutation, it's quite an odd name. What's it all about? Well, what happened at Ardbeg in 2008 is that there was an accident where the boiler broke down, so therefore they couldn't distill, and therefore what happened, they had 6 washbacks at various points of fermentation that therefore they couldn't turn into spirit. So they had 2 options basically. They wasted it, they threw it away, or they kept it for whatever the length of time the boiler was broken. So that's actually what they did, under the sort of stewardship of Dr. Bill Lumsden, who's the director of whisky creation at Ardbeg, and he had always wanted apparently to experiment with longer fermentation times and so on. Oh, it's just started raining again. I thought I got away with it with we had a little shower literally just as I was starting to record, like probably about 15-20 minutes ago, but now it started again, even though it's quite bright. It's a little bit weird, but anyway, I digress. So if it gets too heavy, I may well sort of pause and come back to this. But anyway, so instead of the normal 72 hours, these 6 washbacks ended up fermenting for 3 weeks, which is certainly the longest in Ardbeg's history, and it's really unprecedented time. Any distillery, I mean, some distilleries leave their fermentation a bit longer than others to get certain characteristics, but really the yeast has done its main job after about 48 to 50 hours. So some distilleries even collect it at that time, but some, they wait for the yeast to start dying and settling, and that creates different characteristics. And in this case, of course, what happens, well over the 72 hours that Ardbeg normally do, the yeast settled, died and settled. Then of course these different characteristics started developing in the wash that you really couldn't get from a sort of much shorter time, as the dead yeast cells sat at the bottom of the wash. So this was then sort of taken off, and Dr. Bill put it into distilled it once the boiler was fixed, and then put it into first fill and refill ex-bourbon casks. So really interesting. And then obviously he didn't quite know how it was going to mature or how long it might take till it would be ready. So yeah, he then obviously has decided to put it together for this Ardbeg Committee exclusive. So it's been bottled at 49.4%, and was £150, but it went on sale in what, about, well, at least a month ago, and you know, normally these things sell out pretty rapidly, so you'll be looking on, you know, auction sites now for it, and it'll be much more than 150, I would say. But anyway, we should probably have a taste. I mean, I've certainly never tasted anything like this that has this long, super long fermentation. So we've done a little review on the blog as well, which I'll put the link to for some more detailed notes. But I can see the camera's getting a few spots on, so I hope you can still see me through this. You know, you've got sun but rain at the same time, so if it was April, I'd say it was April showers, but it's not, so it'll have to be March showers. But I've also dug out this little Ardbeg glass that I got one of the times that I went to. Very lucky to have been to Ardbeg a couple of times. So here we go, Ardbeg Fermutation. Got to keep getting that right. I keep having to correct myself, but yeah, sorry about that. Okay, let's have a look. So firstly, like, lovely sort of golden pale gold sort of colour there from these bourbon casks. First fill and refill. But yeah, of course, what you have is this immediate, you know, you get this big punchy peatiness from Ardbeg always. Yeah, so we're using the same barley. You know, it's only the fermentation that was different here. So the mashing, the barley itself, the mashing, the distillation was all the same as it is normal. It's only the fermentation. So you've still got this really kind of seaweedy, iodine-y, medicinal type of smoke. A little bit ashy as well in the background, but what you've also got is quite a distinct, like biscuity, like sort of freshly baked cookies, slightly yeasty, bready sort of note, and then quite a distinct vegetal note as well. It's kind of going beyond this sort of seaweed. It's a bit like sort of cooked vegetables, a bit mossy as well, that damp moss, like damp everything that's around me here at the moment after this little shower. But let's have a taste. Yeah, and it does have, again, quite punchy peatiness. Come to that in a minute. But the main thing here, the main difference, is this sort of biscuity, cookie dough, yeasty, bready sort of quality, and it makes it really sort of rich, creamy, almost a bit like sort of puttyish. It's just like quite interesting mouthfeel, and I can't really say it's something that's very common in many whiskies that I've tried. Then you've got some sweetness. There's a bit of white chocolate, there's a bit of honey, vanilla definitely, a bit of golden syrup in there as well, and then of course this peatiness, but it's got this distinct sort of greenness to it. In fact, I'm going to have another taste. Just give me a second. It's got this, yeah, green smokiness. It's kind of a mix between, got like quite charcoaly, quite dry, so charcoal ash, but then this greenness, like green vegetal, sort of drying seaweed. As the tide goes out, drying seaweed. You've also got this sort of cooked vegetables, and then this sort of mossy, damp mossiness again. Really interesting. You know, do I like it? I don't know. I kind of, when I tasted it before for the blog review, I couldn't decide, and I still can't decide. Yeah, it's just something very different about it. The mouthfeel and this kind of yeasty, bready, biscuity quality. I kind of change. Sometimes I think, yeah, this is really good. You know, it's really different. Other times it's just a bit too savoury and a bit too vegetal. But you know, that's the beauty of whiskey. You know, some people like some things, some people like others. That's why you can walk into a shop and there'll be like thousands of whiskies sitting on the shelves. So yeah, I mean, if you get a chance to, as I say, it might be released in a sort of wider sort of release later in the year, but if you get a chance to get that, then you'll get to see. But if you see it in a bar or a whiskey bar, have a little taste, particularly if you like the smoky whiskies and you're a fan of Ardbeg. But yeah, I think that's probably about it from myself and Ardbeg Fermutation. We will bid you farewell. We'll pack up, I think, and try and get out of this rain. Hope it hasn't disturbed your enjoyment too much, and we will see you for another Allotment Dram very soon. Cheers now.